Tonight, hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens and their supporters holding boycotts, demonstrations, and protests all across the country to demand amnesty for all illegal aliens. We'll have live coverage tonight, coast to coast.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight, news, debate, and opinion for Monday, May 1st. Live in New York, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening, everybody. Hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens and their supporters today failed in their attempt to shut down most of our cities to support amnesty for all illegal aliens. The protesters boycotted work, school, and shops and held protests and demonstrations. But what the illegal alien lobby called the Great American Boycott did not materialize. It certainly did not paralyze most of our cities as those organizers had hoped. Today's demonstrations took place in more than 50 cities from coast to coast. The size of the demonstrations varied from a few hundred people to several 100,000. Casey Wyan tonight is in Los Angeles. Keith Oppenheim is in Chicago. Bill Tucker is in New York. We begin with Casey Wyan. Casey?
Lou, the so-called Great American Boycott has been everything it was advertised to be and everything it was not. They marched and shouted, waving Mexican and American flags, dancing in the streets. They skipped school and work and shut down businesses.
The money is not the big deal. The big deal is to help the people to get the papers.
All because Congress voted to secure the nation's borders and toughen criminal penalties against illegal immigration.
I think it's important that we do a boycott today to show that we are important, that we have rights.
In California, home to more than 2 million illegal aliens, Amnesty advocates continued to recast the national debate as an attack on all immigrants.
The essential reason why there is an outrage by the immigrant community in Los Angeles and throughout the country is because immigrants work hard every day in every industry that you can think of.
The second most powerful man in California politics even declared illegal aliens have a right to U.S. citizenship.
What's most important here is the immigrants, their rights to legalization and their rights to citizenship.
The goal was to cripple the U.S. economy. At the Los Angeles produce market, deliveries continued, though more slowly. Truck traffic is light at the Port of Long Beach, normally the nation's busiest. Many shippers unloaded over the weekend to avoid boycott-related delays. Los Angeles International Airport reports no impact on its operations. But thousands of Southern California school children stayed home, costing school districts tens of millions of dollars in state funds.
I'm skipping school, but it's for a good cause. Us Mexicans, we need to have some rights.
The vast majority of Southern Californians not participating in the May Day boycott enjoyed a smooth commute to work on uncrowded freeways and buses. There were minor inconveniences, including interruptions of newspaper deliveries, catering, and janitorial services. Border security activists fought back. Some, including Tucson's Border Patrol Union, planned major purchases of big-ticket items from May 1st. Plenty of marchers also defied the boycott, spending money for T-shirts, flags, and food. Another Los Angeles march is scheduled to begin in about an hour for the benefit of those students who decided to stay in school today. The Los Angeles Unified School District reports about 27% of its students were absent. Overall, about 500,000 Southern Californians are estimated to have participated in the boycott and marches. Lou?
Casey, thank you very much. Casey Wyan reporting from Los Angeles. Hundreds of thousands of people taking part in today's protests and demonstrations in Chicago. Police estimate at least 300,000 people were in the crowds. Keith Oppenheim now reports from Chicago. Keith?
Lou, the crowds have really dwindled at this point, but for a day where the weather really wasn't so hot, people really came out of the woodwork. As you said, Chicago police estimating 300,000 people marching from the west loop of Chicago all the way to where I am at in Grant Park on the shores of Lake Michigan. Now, to be sure, there were other immigrant groups represented from Asia and from European nations, but for the most part, this was a predominantly Hispanic crowd with a sea of American and Mexican flags as people marched. We talked to a number of folks as they were marching, and many told us they had taken part of the day off from work, if not the whole day. We saw a lot of school children. In fact, there was one report indicating that in the Latino-dominated public schools, attendance was quite low, between 10 and 33%. Overall, though, we have to say that this was a very peaceful and large rally, and Chicago police did a lot ahead of time to coordinate with organizers of this event to make sure that it went pretty smoothly. Lou?
Thank you very much, Keith Oppenheim. From Chicago, illegal aliens and their supporters held major protests and rallies in many other cities around the country. In Denver, 75,000 people took part in a demonstration in the city center. Colorado has one of the fastest-growing illegal alien populations of any state. Several thousand people also protesting in Houston, where many of the demonstrators were displaying Mexican flags. There were also protests in Las Vegas, but major casino companies reported most of their staffs turned up for work today. Casino operations, they said, were not affected. And here in New York, the illegal alien lobby organized human chains and rallies to support Amnesty for illegal aliens, but the protests were much smaller than those held in other major cities. Bill Tucker has our report.
They lined the street for 8 blocks. And while the American flag was the predominant flag of the day, Spanish was the official language. The chant is "Yes, we can." Demands filled the air.
We're tired of the abuses, and we're tired of an immigration system that makes people cross the border illegally and risk their lives, that keeps people in fear here, that keeps workers having to fight for really low-paying jobs.
An observer could almost forget that this was a rally supporting illegal immigration, were it not for the signs demanding amnesty.
We don't like to use the term illegal because we don't think any human being can really be illegal. We know we use the term undocumented.
Calls for a boycott were downplayed. Stores all along the street where the protesters gathered were open and ready to sell.
Some folks are calling for a boycott, others are calling for people to leave their jobs. We're basically leaving that to be an individual decision.
I don't think that the goal is shut down the American economy. I think that the shutdown is to create a reality check.
All the while enjoying the full support of their congressman.
This is about workers' rights, both documented and undocumented. We are America!
Unofficial police estimates put the crowd in the Jackson Heights neighborhood at 2,000 to 3,000.
Supporters of illegal immigration also rallying in the nation's capital. Juan Carlos Lopez of CNN en Español reports now from Washington. Juan Carlos.
Lou, hundreds of people came to Malcolm X Park in D.C. It was part of the ACTS program in the nation's capital. Now, one person belonging to the Minutemen came to protest their presence in this rally. What they did was the same thing as other cities. They had speeches, they had prayer, and they called for legalization. A petition was given to those who came here asking for legalization without any conditions, as there is talk in the Senate of giving legal asylum maybe to people who have been here for 5 years or longer. They do not want that. Now they are calling for a new rally. They're saying that May 19th will be the day where they have to gather around the White House to protest and ask for legalization. Lou.
Juan Carlos, we thank you very much. From Washington, a survey of businesses shut down today reveals the industries that are most unlawfully hiring illegal aliens. Purdue Farms closed 8 of its 14 chicken processing plants. Tyson Foods, the nation's largest meat producer, reports a dozen of its plants were closed. The meatpacking industry relies almost entirely on poorly paid illegal labor. Goya Foods, the nation's largest Hispanic-owned food company, suspended its daily distribution today. McDonald's says some of its restaurants are closing early or offering only drive-through service. The National Association of Chain Restaurants says the boycott could hurt some of its members. And in Birmingham, Alabama, a company that supplies day laborers to construction and landscapers across the Southeast shut down today in support of the boycott. The Association of General Contractors says about half of the workers at construction sites in Miami didn't show up. Still ahead here, we'll have much more on the illegal alien lobby's boycotts, demonstrations, and protests. One of the main organizers of today's demonstrations and boycott will be our guest. I'll also be talking with a leading member of an organization representing Hispanics who do not support these protests or demonstrations or boycotts. And 2 leading congressmen will join me. They're on the opposite sides of this amnesty debate, Congressman Luis Gutierrez, Congressman Jim Costa. Also tonight, the illegal alien movement's pro-amnesty demonstrations spreading across our southern border. We'll have a report on what Mexico is calling a day without gringos. And most newspapers and television networks appear to be missing the point in their coverage of illegal alien protests or determinedly not using accurate language. We'll have that story here next. Stay with us.
Lou Dobbs Tonight, brought to you by the Royal Bank of